AITA for canceling my daughter's wedding because she uninvited her stepbrother? For context, I'm a 54-year-old father too. My daughter, Emily, 27F, and my stepson, Jake, 25M. I married my wife, Claire, when the kids were 10 and 8. Both of them grew up in our household, and while there were growing pains early on, they eventually became close. They've celebrated holidays together, traveled together, and until recently, I'd say they had a sibling-like bond. Emily is getting married this fall. I, along with her mom and stepmom, have been contributing financially to the wedding, which is a pretty lavish event. Think country club venue, custom dress, plated dinner, the whole 9 yards. Last week, we had a final planning meeting with the wedding coordinator, and that's when I found out Jake isn't invited. I was shocked. I assumed it was a mistake or oversight. When I brought up to Emily afterward, she got very defensive. She said it was her day, and she didn't want drama. I asked what drama she meant, and she vaguely referenced Jake's attitude, and that some people just make things about themselves. That didn't sound like Jake at all. When I asked Jake about it, he looked genuinely hurt, but said Emily told him she wanted to keep the guest list small and drama-free. He didn't press her on it, but it clearly bothered him. I talked to Emily again, and this time she admitted that Jake always made her feel like the second child. I was floored. That had never come up before. She said she felt like I favored him because he was quieter and more agreeable than she was growing up. I told her that wasn't true, and that if she had issues, she should have brought them up before, not excommunicated her brother from the biggest day of her life. When she refused to reconsider, I told her plainly, if Jake wasn't welcome, then neither was my money. I pulled my financial support. Now she and her fiancé are scrambling, and she's furious with me. Her mother says I'm being dramatic and punishing Emily for expressing her feelings. But I don't see it that way. After I pulled my financial support, things escalated quickly. Emily didn't call me for almost a week. When she finally did, it was through a text that said, "Thanks for ruining the most important day of my life." That one hurt, not gonna lie. Claire, her mom, called me next. She said I was holding the wedding hostage, and that Emily had a right to choose who she wanted there. I told her Emily also had the right to fund the wedding herself. If this was about her feelings, fine. But I wasn't going to bankroll something that deliberately excluded someone who's been nothing but family to her. Meanwhile, Jake has been trying to keep the peace. He told me he didn't want to be the cause of family rift, and even suggested that I apologize just to smooth things over. I told him that wasn't going to happen. The thing is, I've thought a lot about this, and I realize this is bigger than just a wedding. It's about respect. Jake is family. He's my family. And regardless of what Emily feels or believes, uninviting him without even talking to me or giving him an explanation was cold. To be honest, it's made me question how well I really know Emily. She's always been strong-willed, but this feels vindictive. The secrecy, the deflection, the emotional manipulation. It's not like her. Or maybe it is, and I just refuse to see it. Her fiancé, who I used to like, hasn't said a word to me through all this. Not a text. Not a call. Nothing. That silence says a lot, too. At this point, I don't know if I'll even attend the wedding. Claire said she and Emily are thinking of downsizing to a backyard ceremony and using Emily's savings. That's fine, but I told her plainly, if Jake isn't invited, don't expect me there either. Now, my wife thinks we should try family counseling before this becomes a permanent fracture. I'm open to that, but I don't know if Emily would even agree. A few days after the backyard wedding update, my wife convinced me to try one more conversation with Emily, this time in person. She thought maybe emotions were just too high and a face-to-face talk could shift the tone. We met at a coffee shop. I came in hoping we could clear the air. Instead, Emily came in armed. She immediately doubled down, said Jake was manipulative in subtle ways growing up that I never saw it because he always acted perfect around adults. She brought up random things from childhood, times I'd praised Jake for being responsible or told her to be more like him. To her, those were scars. I told her that I was sorry if I ever made her feel second place. That wasn't my intent. But I also told her that cutting him off now, over unspoken resentment, wasn't healing. It was revenge, and doing it without even giving him a chance to understand or talk about it. That's not the kind of daughter I raised. She looked away and said something I won't forget. Maybe I don't want to be the kind of daughter you raised. That hit me like a freight train. AITA for canceling my daughter's wedding because she uninvited her stepbrother? Part 6. I stayed quiet for a while, then asked her one last time. If Jake would apologize or at least have an honest talk with you, would you be open to inviting him? She shook her head. I don't want him at my wedding. Period. That was it. I told her I loved her and always would, but that I couldn't support a wedding that began with division like this. I stood up, paid for both our drinks, and left. Jake didn't say much when I told him, just quietly nodded and said, "Thanks for standing up for me." It's been 3 weeks now. The wedding is still happening. Smaller and quieter. I haven't been invited. Neither has Jake. My wife and I are going to spend the weekend of the wedding out of town. Emily hasn't reached out again. I don't know if I did the right thing. I still ask myself that every night. But I do know this. Family doesn't mean avoiding hard conversations. It means being honest, even when it hurts. The wedding happened last weekend. I didn't go. Neither did Jake. My wife and I spent the weekend at a cabin 2 hours out of town, hiking and mostly keeping our phones off. When we came back, I had one missed call and a brief voicemail from Emily. I hope you're happy. You got what you wanted. That was it. Jake's been quiet about it all. He says he's done trying to be part of her life if that's how she wants things. I can't blame him. My wife thinks this might be a phase, something that will soften with time. I'm not so sure. Part of me wonders if Emily had always been holding on to these resentments, and the wedding was just the excuse to finally act on them. The fact that she excluded Jake without ever giving him a chance to talk, that still bothers me deeply. Reddit, I know I wasn't perfect. I probably made mistakes raising both kids. Maybe I did compare them, even if I didn't mean to. Maybe I failed to notice the quiet buildup of resentment. But I tried. I love them both. I still do. And if supporting Jake made me the bad guy in Emily's eyes, then maybe being the bad guy was the only honest thing I could do.